from the motion picture business to now 20 years in real estate and still going strong. Today we get to talk to Jeff Morrell from Colorado Springs. My name is Vincent Koo, and this is Success Leaves Clues. Jeff, I am very excited to have you here with us today. I'm excited to dig into. You've got a really cool story, and I
it's
want
a crazy
to
story.
know about it. Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, first of all.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you inviting me on. Absolutely. So
all right. So can we dig into it? So tell me how somebody that's working in all of these films, finds their way into real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Indiana originally, but lived in California. I moved to California after I graduated college, and went out there with a couple of buddies of mine. My senior year in college, I went to Butler University back in Indianapolis. And my senior year, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Hoosiers, Gene Hackman basketball movie, and so I worked on that. And me and a couple of buddies of mine, we decided, let's go to California, And I think for me, I've always been like in that. It's always, for me, it's been one of those things like I don't want to regret not trying something, I mean, there's been a bunch of things I've done and tried that like, well, that was dumb. Never do that again, but I just didn't want to, I remember, when I moved out there, I'm like, gosh, I don't want to be kicking myself 10 years later. I wonder what would have happened if I'd have gone to California. So me and two buddies of mine, we packed up the car after we graduated. We moved to California, lived in LA. And of course I had all the naysayers back home. My dad, was like, you're doing what? You're an idiot. Like, you're going to California. Like, this is 1986, by the way. There's no cell phones. There's no internet. I mean, California is another planet from Indiana,
right.
And, but it put a fire under me to just like prove everybody wrong. Like I'm going to do it, So within 6 months, I'd worked my way up to a first assistant director and was making about $1,000 a day, working on a lot of music videos, tons, all the music, the 1980s, all those music videos. MTV was still music back then. So a lot of music videos, some films, commercials, TV shows. It was a great experience. I was there for 9 years in that business. I met my wife out there in 1992. And there was a church I became a part of out there, became a Christian in 1992. And just I met my wife out there at the church. We got married and went full-time ministry. So major career change. Went full-time ministry for about 7 years. And I've got two daughters. They were 4 and 1 when we decided it was just time to get out of LA. I didn't want to raise a family out there. And we had no family out there, nothing against LA. But my wife's family was here in Colorado. And so it was either going to be here or back to Indiana. We decided on Colorado, made the move here. And my father-in-law is a real estate developer. So long answer to your question, but that's how I got into real estate. Was when we moved here, I started working with him. And, had no idea what I was going to do when I got here. But, him and I, we were out walking one day and, he's like, I don't know what you're thinking about doing, but, this cell phone strapped to my hip, I'd love to give it to you. And I want to travel more. And he does a lot of photography, great photographer. And he wanted to travel, get out more. And he's like, whatever, I can teach you what I'm doing and put you to work. And, thought about it.
For you right away? Were you like instant success in real estate?
I mean, well, I worked with him for a couple years in development, so I got my feet wet in the real estate, business. We developed a couple high-end neighborhoods here in Colorado Springs. I was working with him on, and then 9/11 hit and his projects just froze. Like everything just came to a screeching halt. And so, he kept me on his payroll, but I'm like, okay, there's nothing to do. I mean, just like, he's keeping me on because I'm his son-in-law, and I hated that feeling. So I went and got my real estate license and started doing residential sales. January 2002 is when I started. And so, when I got in, though, it was just me. I mean, the scary thing for me at that time, I remember, was just the fact that, my wife was home with the kids and I wanted it that way. And it's all on me, 100% commission.
100% commission.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And I just remember my first broker, who was a friend of mine, I went to meet with, interview. I didn't even interview him. I just went to work with him. And he was, what's your biggest concern about getting a real estate? I'm like, the fact that it's 100% commission. I'm like, whatever. And he said, well, we just got to change your mindset on commission. And he kind of laughed. He'd been doing it 25 years. He said, it's just the numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more people you're going to find that are looking to buy or sell a house. And, it's just, you'll be fine. Just get out there, And so I got out there, I hustled it, and I ended up doing 32 deals my first year, which was way out of the norm. I know I didn't know that at the time, but, but got plugged into a good coaching program. That was a big part of that as well. That really worked for me. I just, that accountability and having people around.
Was it
you
a
to,
specific a coach that's still around now today?
Craig Proctor.
Oh,
Yeah, Craig Proctor. Yeah, he was the number one Remax agent at the time, out of Toronto, Canada. And I had bought into a website system. My original broker, I just remember like my first weekend, I started with him like on a Monday, right? January, whatever, 3rd, 4th, 2002. And my very first weekend, he's like, okay, meet me at Starbucks Saturday morning, 9:00, bring your business cards. I'm like, okay. So we meet over there. We have a coffee. We talk. He drives me out to a neighborhood out on the east side of Colorado Springs here and says, okay, let's see. It's about 10:00 now. So you guys got your business cards? Yeah. He says, okay, I'll come back here. I'll pick you up at 4:00. Get out there. Go get them. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm out there knocking on doors, getting them slammed in my face. I mean, talk to some people. I don't know. I maybe picked up a deal or two out of it at some point, but I'm like, I hate this. Like, this is not what I want to do. I know there's people that love knocking on doors, all that stuff. For me, it just wasn't the thing. I came home that night and I'm like, I got to get a website. Like Miguel was very old school, my broker. I mean, great guy, very old school. Been doing it 25 years and all this stuff. His idea of getting leads was, let's pull out the white pages. You start in A, I'll start in Z. We'll meet in the middle, cold calling. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, So I got a website and it was part of Craig Proctor's program. And, so I got it set up and he's advertising big time, like, hey, this big super conference in Phoenix in June. So I signed up for it and I went to this conference. Well, while I was there, there's a couple thousand agents from all over the country and literally some of the top agents in the business. I mean, these guys, these mega agents, $1 million, $2 million a year in commission, just mega teams, whatever. And they're pushing this coaching program. And I learned a long time ago, you become who you hang around, And so, right. At the end of this 3 days, I put 14 grand on a credit card and I joined his coaching program. Didn't call my wife. I'm like, it's one of those deals, like, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Cause she'd have been like, you're doing what? Like, get on a plane. What are you thinking? Get out of here. Get out of there. But I knew, like, I'm meeting all these people. I'm like, I've got to be a part of this thing. And so I did it. And, I ended up, like I said, 32 deals my first year. Probably 26 of them came from Craig Proctor's program. It just worked for me.
And you were solo at the time, right?
I was solo at the time. Yeah. Just myself.
So how did you go from that to being number one team at Keller Williams in Colorado Springs?
So I was solo on my own for 3 years. My third year, I did 72 deals by my, again, no assistant, by myself. My wife was helping me a ton, as much as she could. She wasn't licensed at the time, but she ended up getting her license. And she started working with me then in 2005. And that's when we went to Keller Williams. I ended up, the company I was with there at the beginning, I was on a 70-30 split with no cap. Now, I didn't know any different. I didn't interview anywhere else. I went to work there because, again, friend of mine, whatever. And again, we're still friends to this day. Never burned a bridge. But I'm like, 70-30 split with no cap, and you do 72 deals. I'm like, I had done a deal with a Keller Williams agent here in town. And she's a big agent here. She's still with them to this day. And she'd asked me at the time, hey, have you ever looked at Keller Williams? I'm like, no, I'm good. Me and Miguel, I'm loyal. I'm not going anywhere, Well, then I do my taxes that year and I'm added all up. I'm like, holy cow. Like, I gave over $100,000 to that company. And, and I was never there. At that point, I'm out of the office totally. Right. I'm working from home. My wife and I are trading off with our kids and running around, whatever. And I finally it was one of the hardest talks I ever had, was to go talk to Miguel and just say, I got to make a move. I called up Stacy over at Keller Williams. And so how's that Keller Williams thing work? It was like, well, $18,000 cap, $3,000 franchise fee, $21,000 a year. I'm like, I'm in. That's $80,000 more in my pocket. Like, holy cow, I'm moving to Keller Williams. And so I ended up moving over there, and my wife had her license. We hired an assistant. That was our first move, which she did that without telling me. Again, same kind of thing. And at first I'm like, you did what? And it was the best thing we ever did. She was able to take off my plate all that stuff that was just the time consuming things that I could pay somebody, 12, 13 bucks
She's
an hour to
licensed
do.
at that time?
My wife was, but my assistant wasn't. No.
Got it.
My assistant wasn't
That was like
licensed,
your
and
first piece. Actually, your wife was leverage, and then additional leverage through the assistant, right?
exactly,
Okay.
yeah. And so my assistant was awesome. I mean, she was with me for a long time, and she was able to just be in the office and handle all the replies to my emails, all the just so many different things that she could do and take off my plate. We were doing a lot of mailings at the time. Back then. So, printing all this stuff up, mailing it, we'd have a stack of mail every day, all this stuff we were
Now
doing.
you
She
didn't
was just
become
taking care
number
of it.
one. You didn't become number one in Colorado Springs with two licensed
No,
agents.
no.
No.
I ended up bringing on, I think the most I ever had was 5 agents with me total.
Okay.
Ended up bringing a couple other agents on, and I shifted from buyers over to listings. Again, just through Craig's program, really worked hard on doing that. So, and then had buyer agents working with me. They would have some listings at times as well, but for the most part, they were buyer agents. And so, right there between the 5 of us, yeah, we were doing about 180, 200 homes a year. Which there's teams doing much more than that now. I mean, of course, it's a whole different industry. Things have evolved so
Right.
much,
Sure.
but back then for 5 years, we had the number one Keller Williams team here for 5 different offices here. So,
Now,
I was in the top 20 in town, 4,000 agents here. I was in the top 20. I mean, winning all kinds of awards, all that kind of stuff, which was great. But even then, I will tell you, Vincent, I think with even though I had my assistant, my team, whatever, it still relied way too much on me. It would just, I would set it up differently today if I did it again, like that. But it was all under my
interesting.
name. Not well, they did their own deals and that kind of stuff. I let them put them under their names, but it was the Jeff Morrell home selling team,
Right.
And
Right.
so anyway, I'd send John out to a listing, and he,
That's
half hour
very
later,
cool.
he's calling me up. He's like, yeah, where's Jeff? Is he in the car? Is he coming in? Where's Jeff? They want to meet with you, oh shoot, so I got to take off and go meet with it. So anyway, just, it was hard to leave it. It was hard we'd go on vacation, but I'd be on my phone, like, every day, multiple times a day while I'd be gone. It just would not run effectively enough without me. And there was burnout factor coming to that big time
Okay.
after a while.
Yeah.
So.
And I read that there, something big happened when was it 2010 or something like that with health.
Well, so actually a little bit later than that. It was let me think here. This is probably been about 7 years ago. 7 years ago. So probably 2015. Yeah, I went in for just an annual checkup and got diagnosed with prostate cancer. They'd been watching it in me. My dad had it. My grandpa had it. It tends to be hereditary in men like that. And so they were watching the numbers for me. And, I go in that year and do the blood test and, okay, this number is higher than it should be, not conclusive. Let's send you to a specialist. And I did that. And they come back and, sorry to tell you, Mr. Morrell, but you've got prostate cancer. And we caught it early because we've been watching it. So thank God for that. I mean, I ended up having surgery and clean bill of health ever since. But I will tell you, for about 6 months, we had no closings, my wife and I, on purpose, because we didn't have to. We have another business that paid us. We had rental properties that paid us. I mean, it was going to be tighter because we weren't having closings, but it'll by having that passive income coming in, it allowed us to focus on our family, focus on me getting better, getting through all that. We were just able to put the brakes on a little bit and just really regroup together. So, grateful for that. Grateful for the fact that we had that, and I preach that all the time.
Change for you afterwards? I mean, with that mindset of, I guess.
Well, I mean, it definitely, when you go through something like that, I mean, it definitely, you realize how grateful you need to be. For one thing, you realize how blessed you are in so many ways, things we take for granted that we don't think about, it does give you a whole new perspective on family and kids and the things that are really, truly important, because I think, I run into this all the time. I just think, I don't know. I saw a realtor post this. This has probably been 2 weeks ago on Facebook. And it was like, and I know this lady, she's a great agent. She's a strong agent here in town. But I know this too. She's married. She's got two, maybe 3 young kids, like probably all under the age of like 8. And it was like I don't know, it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and she's posting. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and she posted on Facebook. What an amazing day. Had a closing this morning, put a new listing on the market. Had an inspection. Showed 8 homes. Just wrote a contract. Like here's the list of things she accomplished that day. Which I get it, okay. But she's like, it's 10 o'clock at night, and she's just getting done, and it's a great day. And I'm like, coming from where I come from with what went on there, I'm like, I get it, but I'm like, no. Like your kids need you, your family needs you. Like, it's hard to have boundaries in this business. And I just think, I see that sometimes, and I'm like going like, man, oh man, like I got to a point for me, even with my kids, there was a period there where like, I'm working 7 days a week, 90 hours a week, and my kids want nothing to do with me. It's like, and I had to come to grips with the fact, like, wait, what's really important? I mean, yes, we needed to work hard. We hit the goals and all that. And I'm all about all that stuff. I mean, all these books over here, I'm like all about the personal development. Let's drive hard, whatever. I'm all about it. At the same time, not at the expense of your family, not at the expense of your marriage, not at the expense of your health, not at the expense of all these things. Because at the end of it all, none of those deals are going to matter when it comes right down to it. When it all is said and done, we're not going to look back like, oh my God, my life would have been complete if I would have done that one deal that got away from me. Right. Like, oh, that was, man,
So did you pull back from the team at that time?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I had pulled back at that point. And then honestly, when I joined EXP, it's 4 years ago. When I joined EXP, after being here a couple of months, I just realized pretty quick, like, wait a minute, like I can definitely pull back from the team. I don't need the traditional team. I had my team for 13 years, and I made sure they were taken care of. I'm not going to let anybody I'm not going to cut anybody loose, but I wanted to make sure one at a time that they were set up and they were good to go, but I was able to pull back. And I don't have the team that I once had, the traditional team. I do have a team, but I like to call it a modern team, I guess, with EXP. The EXP team, whole different deal, and so I've been able to build that since I've been here for the last 4 years. Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of worked to the whole leverage and how EXP works, and really worked in your favor, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I'm super grateful to be here. I think just I didn't do a lot with that team, the new team here for the first couple of years. I had reached out to a couple agents, and for those that are watching that have no idea how this works, EXP, you can build a revenue share team because we're owners in the company, because of the stock bonuses we all get ownership here. We can share in the revenues coming into the company, just like the broker owners that are out there. They build their company. The more agents they have, the more closings they have, the more money they make. They're collecting on the revenues coming into the company. We do the same thing. We're owners at EXP. So we get that same benefit, but I don't have the liability. I never wanted to be a broker owner. I remember when I left Keller Williams, when I left Keller Williams, I remember, different ones, because I left there in 2010. And no issues with the company. It's a great company. I have no problem with Keller Williams. When I left there, though, I just wasn't using anything that they offered. I had all my own websites, tools, systems, CRM, everything. And I'm paying $21,000 a year. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. I was there for 5 years, $105,000 later. I'm like, dang, like that's just a lot of money. So I went to an independent company, which was basically 100% deal. $300 a transaction, $50 a month. It was still 9-10 grand a year to be there with the deals we were doing, but way better than the 21,000 I was paying at KW. So I was there for 7 years and thought I'd be there the rest of my career. I never thought I'd make another move. Well, then a friend of mine reached out to me, and I've always been open to looking at stuff. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, just look, this may be for you, may not be for you, but you don't know if you don't look at it, so at least take a look and whatever. So I looked at it, and I told Sean, who reached out to me, like, I'll look, I'm not moving, but not going back there. The big company's been there, done that, not interested, but I'm absolutely open to seeing what you got, and a week later we made a move. It just made too much sense to me when I saw it. And that revenue share, I didn't do a lot of it my first couple of years. I had a couple agents that joined me, but then I didn't really understand it. I went to a conference that one of the big agents here was putting on, and there were about 20 agents that spoke over the 2 days we were there, all on what they had learned with that revenue share and how they did it, just mistakes they'd made. It was really good, But here's what hit me. There were 20 people that spoke over that 2-day event. 20 agents, 10, 15 minutes each. The reason all 20 were asked to speak is because they were all making at least 10,000 a month or more in that passive income, the revenue share income. Out of the 20 that spoke, there were 7 or 8 who've been licensed 15, 20 years or longer, like me, and the underlying theme I picked up from that group is they're having a blast. Like they're having fun again. Like the burnout factor was long gone, So that definitely resonated with me. There were another 10 or 15. No, there were another 7 or 8 who spoke that, had been licensed less than a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing their stories. I'm like, okay, wait a minute, and I'm meeting these people, I'm talking to, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, wait a minute. So I come home, my wife, again, we work together. She's like, hey, how was the conference? I'm like, okay, we need to talk. I'm like, if that 25-year-old who's been licensed 10 months is making 10,000 a month while he's building his real estate, like just, revenue share income. I mean, we've been doing this for 16 years at this point. I'm like, I've got stacks of business cards here on my desk from, realtors I know all over the country, conferences and stuff. I'm like, we are missing the boat here. So I told my wife, I'm like, look, if you can, focus on our deals, I'll jump in where you need my help, but let me go run all day, every day, showing agents how this model works. And I love doing it because I know what it can do for the agents. I think within 3 to 5 years here, if you're producing at all, you've at least got some options. You're going to get 2 streams of income anyway because the stock bonuses that we get. Now, I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. It's stock. It can do anything. It's down right now. I love that it's down right now. I see some agents here that are going, oh my God, the stock. I'm like, no, stop. Like that's when you buy more, whatever. I love that it's down. But you're going to get 2 income streams here regardless. But there's that third one there for those that want to reach out to agents, and that's optional. You don't have to do it. It's a very small percentage of us that are doing that. But I love showing this to agents because I go back to the prostate cancer. I'm like, look, life happens. Hopefully not in a health way, but it will. There's agents that are going to watch this that somewhere down the road, they're going to go in and, something's not right, whatever. And they go in and holy cow, it's like, time to get your affairs in order. Nobody wants to hear that. We're not ready for that. We don't plan on that. We're not planning on a car accident this week. We're not planning on all different kinds of things, but life happens. Even as simple as whatever the water heater goes, or you need new tires on the car. There's these curveballs that come at us like all the time. And there's just a lot of agents who are deal to deal, check to check, month to month, and they're not ready for those curveballs that come at us, and especially the big ones.
Right.
And I just know that can happen. Well, exactly.
As agents, what can we do? Like we're taught to go out there and pick up investment properties.
That's the retirement plan for real estate. Go buy as many rental properties as you can, and whatever. And again, I'm not down on that. I've had rental properties. I'll have more. Diversify it out for sure. But you think about this, it's like, how much outlay of cash does it take to buy 10 rental properties? And then what do you have to do every, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, new paint, new carpet, fix the hole in the wall, new landscaping because they didn't water the yard. I mean, all the stuff that goes on with those properties. Again, you got to be ready for that stuff as well. So again, nothing wrong with that. I've done that. I'll do more, but I will tell you, I mean, what this can do in terms of that revenue share stream is huge for $85 a month at being a DXP. Like, heck yeah. And people don't understand that piece of it.
I mean, you're out there, you're still producing at a high level. You're
for sure. No, and most of it is my wife. I did a few last year with her. I mean, again, I jump in where she needs me for sure. She's awesome. She's a phenomenal agent. I mean, everybody loves my wife. She loves working with the buyers. I mean, I have to pull her back sometimes. She'll sit in here on the computer till midnight looking for homes for people and doing all kinds of stuff. I'm like, she's a great agent. She has been for years. And we did 42 deals last year. We're on track for more than that this year. I mean, we'll probably do, anywhere from 48 to 50 this year, I think, by the time it's all done. But I will tell you, we're getting very close to where we can start pulling back right now if we wanted to. And eventually we'll be able to do that. I mean, so we're still very active at it, but this other stream that I'm building with that revenue share, I'm excited about doing that because I love what this can do for the agents. I'm passionate about helping the agents to really understand this model.
It's a short 4 years that you've been with with EXP, right?
Yeah.
A lot of good things ahead, and especially with the growth and going international and all those things, right?
Oh, for sure. We're just getting started. I was on the phone the other day. I've got an agent I'm meeting this week, and I was on the phone talking to him. He's like, yeah, I keep hearing about you guys. He's like, yeah, I got to be honest. He said, man, I wish I'd have seen this, 4 years ago. I just feel like I'm probably too late. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, we're just getting started with this. I mean,
I agree.
what are we at? 81,000 agents right now today when we're doing this here, June 6th. I mean, something like
Yeah.
that.
What is
I
there, like
mean,
1.5 or 2 million in North America?
something like that, like 2 million across the US. I've heard 23, 24 million around the world. I mean, and we're just getting started going around the world. I mean, we're at the very beginning of this. I mean, so that opportunity here is huge. I mean, last, were you did you go to the convention last November? Were you there?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Out in Las Vegas. So, at the very beginning, Jason Gessing, our CEO, Glenn Sanford, our founder, they get on stage. Very first opening thing, and it's the fireworks and the lasers and the smoke and all this. They're opening the convention, right? So, but they get up there. If you remember, they Glenn announced, here's our projection 5 years from now, 500,000 agents. And I remember like Inman News and all these things kind of picked up on that. I mean, 500,000 agents, what are these guys crazy? Like that's it, whatever. Like, and I get it because nobody's ever done anything close to that. I mean, Keller Williams, 188,000 last I heard, biggest company out there. They've been around for years, and we're going to do 500,000. The thing I try and hit with people is like, look, I will in the 4 years I've been here, they've never not hit a goal that they put out there. They've hit every one that they've put out there. They're not pie in the sky kind of stuff. I mean, they've hit them. But even if they don't, even if they hit, let's say they do half of that. Let's say 5 years from now we have 250,000. Okay, which again, I'll be shocked if we don't hit it. But let's say we have half of that, 250,000. Where are those 170,000 new agents going to show up in this model? Underneath the 5 to 8%, whatever it is, of agents who are just taking a little bit of time to add this into their business plan, and reach out to some agents. I mean, they got to go somewhere in this model. So I'm like, it's worth putting it in there for the EXP agents who are listening to this, who haven't thought about that. Like, why not put it in there? It might be 30 minutes a week. You just make a couple calls to some agents,
I mean, if not, what's the alternative? I mean, I see top producers just kind of fizzle out of the business, get replaced by quicker agents that do things with their thumbs a lot faster. What is the alternative for a traditional real estate agent? What can they do?
I don't know. I mean, again, the rental properties, I guess. I mean, that's but yeah, you just don't see it. I say it all the time. I've never been to a realtor retirement party. In 20 years, I've never been to one. I've been to realtor funerals, but I've never been to a realtor retirement party. I mean, sad but true. It's just, that's the truth of it. I don't know that there is a way out for most people. They just, you see those people that they're in their 70s and it's one thing to do it, just, do a few deals here and there because you just love doing it. You want to help people. Like, I get that. That's awesome. But there are those agents out there that are doing it because they have to. And that's where I want to, like, I love helping those people. Like, wait a minute, like, here's a way out if you want to get out. Cause again, I mean, I'll be 60 in October, and it's like, it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine, just this morning actually. And I'm like, I went out this weekend and just, I was on there's a go-kart track out east of town. And we're out here riding these go-karts and stuff. And it was awesome, and it's as this outdoor thing. But dude, it was like, I never knew riding we did the 3 races that were like 20 minutes each. Like, I had no idea that would be like a workout. Like, I'm so sore right now. I can't even, it's like I'm just riding go-karts, but I'm like, it just takes you like, here, it'll be 2 weeks. I mean, I'll still be feeling like, that's the thing I realized. Like, it just takes longer to recover, He's a young guy in his 20s. He's like, oh, I'll never be like that. I'm like, oh yeah, just wait. You young guys, I get it. 2 days, you feel better. When you get my age, it's like, no. It just takes longer. And so anyway, but yeah, you see this with people. Like, there's not, I don't know if there is a way out, the traditional model. And
well, you've been in business for 20 years. You've seen like many of the cycles. I've been in the business for 22 years. So we've been through the same cycles, together. But what should we be expecting? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what should what should we be expecting, coming up right now? There's a lot of doom and gloom that's being talked about. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not doom and gloom guy. I never have been. I think, the good agents adjust. I mean, I think, you definitely, you want to be preparing, I mean, we're definitely heading into something here. I don't know what it's a whole different, I don't think it's nowhere near 2008. I don't think it's 2008. It's a completely different situation here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of equity out there in homes. I mean, so I don't think we're going to see I mean, 2008, I mean, for 3 years, I think all I did was short sales. I mean, that's all there was. I mean, whatever we did, oh my God, we did, a couple hundred of them in 3 years. Nightmare, whatever. I mean, we'll see some of that, but I don't think again, it's a whole different animal this time. I will say this, one of the things I'm trying to help sellers right now, and this is working, is really showing them the numbers. We're showing them, we're taking a lot of things on listing appointments right now, as far as just, let's look at the last week, how many price drops there were in the last week. Let's go back a month ago. How many homes were in the market? How many homes today? Citywide, neighborhood wide. Like, let's look at this. And we're showing all these numbers because our numbers of homes on the market are way up right now from where they were a month ago, 2 months ago. We're seeing that, which again, time of year, we always see an influx of homes, May, June, July, we always see this big increase, but we're definitely starting to see longer days on market because of that. You're seeing, some buyers that have pulled back because of the interest rates. I mean, so you just got to educate these sellers when you go meet with them. This is a different market than a month ago, definitely for me last summer. This isn't last summer. And so, my wife and I, we had a home we put on the market here about 3 weeks ago. And I'll just a quick example. They wanted our average price here in Colorado Springs, 480, 500, right around that range right now, which is crazy to me, the fact that it's gotten that high. But anyway, it's a whole nother story. But we go to meet with these sellers and they wanted to list it at 499. And I showed them all these numbers, and I said, and we showed them all these stats, everything. And I said, I think that's a mistake. And then we listed it at 469. Okay. And here's what happened. We put it on the market on a Thursday. By Sunday, it was under contract. We'd had 11 offers. We got it under contract at 515. They're doing backflips. The sellers are singing our praises like, oh my God, we're so glad we listened to you. Because I guarantee, here's the thing, if we'd have put it on at 499, I'm not kidding you, I think we'd probably still be on the market right now and we'd be down to 469 with a price drop. And now you're old news. Now you're, I tell you, like, don't chase the market down, like get ahead of it. And you can still ramp things up a little bit. We got a lot of attention on that house because of that price. And I had some realtors call me like, what's wrong with that house? Why'd you price it so low? No. Like, we're good.
There's a strategy.
We know what we're doing.
You use the data to present it to the owners. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, you've got to educate the sellers right now and the buyers as well, but especially the sellers. It's been such a seller's market and it still is. But, we're seeing definitely it's not what it was. You got to set their expectations, and set those expectations right. And I don't know if that's across the country, but I'm hearing from a lot of agents I talk to all the time that they're seeing the same kind of things, pretty much everywhere. I don't know what it's going to look like, 6 months from now, 8 months from now, a year from now, but we're preparing for things. I will tell you this again, because I've got, my revenue share team now, is over 200 people, 10 states, 4 countries outside of the US. I get paid when any of those agents have closings. I care. I'm concerned about the market we're in, but I'm not losing sleep over it. 2008, like, oh man, it was crazyville. I mean, it was stress. That we went from, 18, 20 closings a month to 1 and 2, like overnight. Like this, it wasn't like a gradual slowdown. I don't know if you remember, but for us, at least, that's what happened for us. I mean, it literally was just within a month or two, it was just like done. Sellers pulled off the market, buyers couldn't get financed. Like, it just flipped. And again, I know here in town, we went from, I don't know, 4,000, 4,200 agents, whatever it was, to like 2,800 in a matter of like 6 months, 8 months. Like, people, I remember running into realtors at Best Buy wearing their blue shirts. Like, Joe, what happens? Like, oh my God, I'm in a closing in 6 months. Like, I get it. You do what you got to do to keep the bills paid best you can, whatever.
Right.
But again, I think, just, I want to be ready for stuff like that, not losing sleep over it, because again, thank God for this model of EXP. Because when you build something like that, which is going to continue to grow, there will be closings next month. With 220 agents, there will be closings, whether I have any or not. Now, again, our income might go down a little bit because we take our closings out of the picture, but there will be closings. Our bills will be covered.
Jeff, you've got a really good mindset. around this business. And I think that that's what I got the most out of this conversation is really, put things in perspective and, what does it mean to be the number one team, right? And what does
Yeah.
it really mean for you? And is it worth it, at the expense of your family, your health, and all the things that you really want to do in life,
Right.
right?
I mean, we all want the recognition. I've heard that people die for recognition. And I appreciate the recognition. I mean, up behind me, right up there, I've got some trophies sitting up there on the
Well,
shelf collecting dust. Whatever. I got my icon trophies from EXP, and that's all good. And Keller Williams stuff and different things up there. But at the end of it all, it's just what really matters. And I think it's just yeah, we crave the recognition, but again, not at the expense of all these other things. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your marriage. All that stuff is way more important than another deal. And the deals will come. I mean, just keep your priorities straight. I mean, for me, it's God number one, number two, my wife, number three, my kids, number four, my business. I mean, that's my order. And that's how I set things up. And I've had to learn that over the years. It wasn't always like that. I mean, there was times when that all got flipped around. I mean, you know, in 2008, I remember we were scrambling. I mean, I had a single mom. She worked with me on my team. She's a realtor, great agent, a phenomenal agent. But I remember, 3 months and she hasn't had a closing. I mean, I'm losing sleep at night. I'm doing everything I can to,
Wow.
feed her a deal. Whatever I got to do, I got to figure this out. And there was a lot of stress as a team leader like that. So, I am grateful for this model in the sense where I just don't have my traditional team anymore. Nothing wrong with that. I know there's a lot of teams out there, a lot of teams at EXP, whatever. But for me, I prefer myself to have that revenue share team that I don't have to. I mean, we're there for them. We train them every week. We do all kinds of stuff with them. I'm building up my leads to start feeding some of those people leads that I get, because the ones I just, I can pass them on to leads, give them more business, whatever. But it's a shift in mindset when we all have ownership in the company. That. It's just we think differently here than what I've ever thought. And that collaboration, the way everybody works together here, is unbelievable. Everybody helping each other. And then when you add that third stream of revenue share, over time that can build up. And for me right now, I'm getting calls now. Like I had a call 2 weeks ago Wednesday, I had a call from a guy in California. Left me a message. I called him back that night. He's like, hey, Jeff, you don't know me. I saw an interview you did on YouTube with an agent. I've seen a couple of them now, and I've been kind of watching you. I've been an independent agent. I've been doing real estate for 33 years. I'm looking to make a change. Can you give me a call? Called him up, showed him, the EXP model. He loved it. We're getting back on this week for a follow-up. I mean, I don't know if he's going to join us or not. It's got to be the right thing for him. And I tell everybody that, like, this may or may not be for you. I don't know.
All you're doing is looking for people that are looking for you, right?
Exactly. And that's starting to happen more and more. They're calling me now, stuff like that off LinkedIn, different things. We're just seeing it because the word's out on this company.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when we're growing the way we're growing and all the things we're doing and, where the big agents go, everybody follows. And that's happening here in a huge way. And I'm so glad I found it when I did, but it's not too late by any means for anybody else out there watching this, man. If you know Vincent, give Vincent a call, let him show you this model, whatever. If you know me, give me a call.
Listen, I really appreciate your time. One last quick piece of advice for the group.
Get out there and hustle it. I mean, I see people sometimes, especially there's so many new agents, and I just saw this the other day and I get it. We have 160,000 new agents in the last 2 years across the country. 30,000 did not renew their license in the first quarter this year. That number is going to continue probably to go up as we go into, later throughout this year. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's a lady here in town. She got licensed June of 2020. Her name's Kelly Kortner. I'll give her a plug. She's an awesome agent. She joined EXP from day one. As a brand new agent, June of 2020, when we couldn't even show homes because we were still under lockdown, and she did 42 deals her first 12 months. And here's the thing. It's like, I was with an agent here a few weeks ago. She's been in the business 2 years also, and she's had 2 deals in 2 years. And she's all frustrated. Like, why isn't my phone ringing? And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way. Like you got to, I asked her, like, tell me, she's at Keller Williams right now. And I asked her, I said, Keller Williams, great training. They're known for their training, like us, whatever. And I said, what kind of trainings have you said in the last, 6 months? 0. I said, well, how many, what are you doing right now to bring in more leads? What are you doing? Like, tell me what you're doing right now. She looked at me like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm like, I mean, first of all, I'm like, maybe this business isn't for you. I mean, I said that very nicely with a smile. I'm like, but again, you got to get out there and hustle, build your business. I learned early on even my first couple of weeks, I realized I'm at an office downtown Colorado Springs. It was a home that my broker owned down there that was an office. Okay. But there was no sign out front. Like nobody's going to come walking in here looking for an agent. Right. Which that doesn't happen anymore anyway, no matter where you are. But I learned very quickly, I got to get out. So here I am working on my laptop. I'm building my business, my websites, just different things I was doing there at the beginning and on the phone and doing stuff. I got out. I remember going out and I'd sit at my laptop at Starbucks, and that was my office for 8 hours every day for 5 different coffee shops. But I got to meet people. I would talk to everybody. I'd take a break every hour and get up, and I'd literally walk around that Starbucks and hand out business cards, and just introduce myself. And you'd overhear somebody at the table next door. Here's the 2 moms with their 2 kids, and they're drinking coffee. And, the one mom's like, oh my gosh, if we don't find a bigger place, we're busting at the seams. And, oh my, hey, not trying to eavesdrop, just overheard your conversation. I'm a realtor. If I can help you, blah, 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 whatever. My first deal came from just that right there. There was a military couple here in town. They were getting transferred out of Colorado Springs at a military base here. And I overheard that conversation, and I ended up listing their house. That was my very first deal. But it was because I was out there and wasn't afraid to talk to people. And that's what I would just tell all these agents right now. There are deals to be made. There will be, people might pull back a little bit. You'll get some sellers that don't sell because they don't know where to move to. You'll have some buyers that pull back because of the interest rates or whatever, but there will always be sales happening. People who have to move, whether it's business or health things or divorce situations or whatever, there will be homes selling every month, but you got to be out there and you got to meet the people. And the more people you talk to, the more deals you'll do, and the good agents will adjust, and you'll get through whatever we go through here in the next, year, 2 years, whatever. But be ready to adjust, and you'll do fine. Don't sit back and wait on the phone to ring, because, you might as well go look for another job right now. That's just not going to work. So
Jeff, appreciate you so much, guys. Everybody heard it, right? It's mindset and it's hustle. Okay. Thank you so much, Jeff.
For sure. Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, Vincent.
All right. Take care, everyone.